Well, a little over a week ago, we started our journey as a financially independent couple traveling the world. Our budget is not unlimited. In fact, we have a budget of about $5,000 a month, about $60,000 Canadian a year, which works out to about 3,700 US dollars a month. Not a lot of money, but we're going to travel on it. And one of the ways we're going to do it is with the repositioning cruises. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons.
Take a look.
So what is a repositioning cruise? Well, it's really quite simple. They're repositioning a cruise ship. And that really means that in the shoulder seasons of any given year, usually the spring and the fall, cruise lines will move their ships from one area of the world to another, right? So in this case, in our case right now, we're moving from North America, where the ship spent its winter season sailing the lovely sunny Caribbean, to Europe, where it's going to spend the summer season sailing the Mediterranean. So you tend to get these, and they're one way. So you just get on the ship, and rather than it sailing empty, you get to enjoy the benefits of it as it sails across the Atlantic.
Yes, and you might ask, why have you decided to take one? Well, we have all the time in the world. We are not connected to any sort of work anymore other than YouTube. And then we have time on our end, right? Which basically help us quite a lot in deciding what we want to do and for how long we want to stay.
Yeah, and I mean, there were certain reasons, certain pros that we came across that really kind of helped solidify the idea that we wanted to try out this idea of a repositioning cruise. So first of all, neither one of us has ever done a repositioning cruise before. In fact, this is Jean's very first cruise. I took one, I think, years ago, and I mean 25 years ago. So things are definitely different, and the ship was teeny tiny, and that was 3 days, I think, in the Caribbean. So nothing like this. So some of the pros we came across for a repositioning cruise were, it's an all-in-one way to move around the world. So what I mean by that is you're getting your transportation, your accommodation, and your meals all in one spot for one price. And that's pretty attractive, really, when you're traveling like we are. It saves a lot of hassle. You're not searching for a hotel and where you're going to eat dinner that night and how you're going to get to the next town. It's all kind of done for you.
Yeah, the second pro that we kind of see, you kind of get to see different ports as we sail across, the ocean. Meaning that, like on our example, we are going to stop in 3 or 4 ports before hitting our last port, which is, I'm not going to tell you right now. But you will always have an opportunity to kind of go back to that city later on and say, you know what, I really like this place and I wanted to explore a little bit more.
So they do cruises from different areas, and one of them is a Trans-Pacific cruise. And I think we're really interested in something like that because those particular cruises hit a ton of these little islands that you've always thought about going to or you've wanted to go to, but it takes a lot of capital to get there. So the cruise is an easy way to make your way around and get through that.
Yeah.
So anyways, third pro for us, coming from our very sedentary life in Canada, have found that repositioning cruises are actually a really great way to get active and stay active, which sounds really weird when you're trapped on a ship in the middle of the ocean. However, as you can see, this doesn't look like a ship. So there are any number of ways to stay active. There's a track you can walk, and I think one lap of that track is almost 1 kilometer and a bit. So you're getting your steps in. We take the stairs, so we're staying active that way. There's a gym, and just walking to and from dinner is
every single day.
It's a battle some days because you're up and down stairs and you're across the ship. And so we are definitely averaging well over 10,000 steps a day on a ship in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. The other one is cost. It is quite affordable, as Christine mentioned on the first pro, the fact that we can have accommodation, transportation, and food all included and kind of in a bundle. So you end up saving from that point as well.
Yeah. And a bonus pro is you save on jet lag. And the exhaustion of a travel day. So yes, we were tired traveling from Toronto to Miami to get on this cruise. That's true. However, traveling from Miami to our end destination in Spain is the most relaxing travel experience we've ever had. So we're not going to have to show up to an airport 3 or 4 hours early, wait and the airline gets delayed and wait on a plane and go through security and fly an overnight flight. That's very exhausting. This way, we're moving slowly across the Atlantic and slowly changing time zones so that when we actually reach Spain, we're going to hit the ground running, no problem.
Yeah. Maybe another thing to mention is the fact as we are still cruising, we had to stop on 2 different occasions because of emergency evacuation or somebody had needs some help. And even though with those 2 stops, you are still going to be able to make it to our final destination on the, like the date that we were thinking, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so far we're on track. So, but we did come across a few things that, you just need to be aware of. I wouldn't call them cons. We called them cons, but they're not really cons. It's just more things that
to be aware
of them because they could potentially cause issues at the end. The first one is those extra charges can really add up. And what I mean by extra charges are your drinks, your spa items that you might want, massages, all that kind of stuff. But even things such as like
popcorn.
Popcorn. We followed the smell of popcorn yesterday, and lo and behold, a little tiny thing of popcorn, $2.99. All of those little extras, and I mean little, like a bottle of water, a glass of Coke.
Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to, right? You're not surprised, and they say, by the way, there's an extra cost. Would you like to have it or not? And then
they
you
definitely
end up
tell
deciding,
you, right?
Which ones you want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one for us, the biggest downside it's not even the drink package, which I thought would be the biggest downside. It's not. It was the internet. So there's no internet. You have to pay for that, and it's quite expensive. We've broken down twice and bought it, and we spent $32 US for 24 hours of internet each time. And if you were to buy that over the course of your entire cruise, it could really add up like over $400, right? Like that's a huge chunk of money. So just be aware.
Yeah. The second kind of con that you see that the repositioning cruise, they tend to be a little bit longer than the regular, trip.
Yeah, and we got to cross an ocean.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. I kind of see more as an opportunity to, take some time off and not have to worry about anything that is going on.
Decompress a bit.
Yeah. We just kind of help.
And it could be a pro for some people, right? A longer cruise is definitely a pro in some people's eyes.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because we were talking with a guy a few days ago, remember, and he was saying, I really like the days at sea because it's a way that I kind of find to decompress, which in our case, it's kind of a con, and he was seen as a pro.
Yeah. And I say it's a con because we recently had to start setting an alarm to get our butts out of bed because we were doing that. Well, again, that's a pro, right? We weren't getting anything done. So more time can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. Right now, we're enjoying it though. So
what about you? Do you think it's a pro or is it a con? Share in the comments below.
Yeah. Next con, and let's talk underwear here. So in our case, we're slow traveling, and we're carry-on only. So we only have one bag. It's a backpack, and in that backpack is our entire lives. So this isn't obviously going to affect a lot of people. However, for our situation, laundry is a huge con on board a ship like this. Because again, laundry is an extra. So you're going to pay to have your laundry done to the tune of $2 for one pair of underwear or $9 for one dress, things like this, right? So we have come up with a system where we do laundry in our room, in the shower, and hang everything up and around our room to dry. It's a con because most people aren't going to have this. I mean, based on the luggage we saw being loaded onto this ship, most people won't have to worry about laundry. But if you are a more minimal traveler, you're going to have to find ways to do your laundry.
Yeah. The next one is seasickness, and it's the fact that it's actually my first cruise. I was not 100% sure how I would feel. To be honest with you, maybe on the second day, I was a little bit kind of dizzy and I kind of getting used to it. But there are ways to prevent that. And we just got some patches that you just put here, in your ear, and you should be fine. I'm going to link on the description below the ones that we've got it in case you are considering cruise. You can also get that as well.
And they worked really, really well. And I am prone to seasickness, and I have been completely fine. I think it's just more getting used to the movement under your feet, which is kind of odd. So those are the 4 cons that we came up with, and I really don't think that they're cons because they could be spun, other than the sickness one, they could be spun into a pro depending on who you are and how you are viewing this experience. So
and the budget that you have.
And the budget you have, because let me tell you, there's some people on this ship that are living at large, and good for them. maybe one day we'll get there.
All right. How long does a repositioning cruise take?
Can really depend, right? We saw some for 9 days. We saw some, depending on which side of the ocean you're on, that could last up to 30. So varies. It varies on where you want to go in the world, how much time you have to take, things like that. So there's different places where you can look for those cruises and pick the one that suits you best.
Yes. So other one is the routes that we usually go. As we did mention initially, it might even be like a transatlantic or transpacific. However, you can have some of them as you are in Europe, kind of sailing across Europe. So we have a lot of options as well.
Yeah. And the seasons we mentioned before. So right now, ships are moving from North America to Europe and to Southeast Asia or Australia, New Zealand. And then in the fall, they turn around and they kind of make their way back the opposite way.
We are getting close to the cost. Just before we talk about the cost, there is one more item. This is how did we find it? So this is something that you might be interested as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're
I'll give it this to Christine. She was the one.
all over the place. We used a site called Vacations to Go. So many options there for cruises of all kinds, not just repositioning cruises.
Yeah.
But there's other ones called Cruise Plum. I think there's one called Cruise Web. Or you can just go, if you have a favorite cruise line, just go straight to their website because they'll all have them if they're moving their ships around the world. So lots of options.
Just start comparing the prices because even from different websites, you're going to see different prices. So that's something that you have to take into consideration as well.
And when you look at those prices, read the small print because maybe it looks like one is more expensive than another. However, it may include things that the other one is going to cause or have you add on at the end, right? So how much did it cost?
How much did it cost?
So we're budget travelers. So we're always looking for the best way to spend money to get from one spot to another.
Yes.
Right? And our budget each month is around $5,000 Canadian. So how much did a 14-day, I shouldn't say all included, all in one travel from Miami to Spain cost?
Yes. So the first one is when we decided to book. We booked our cruise back in November of 2023, basically 6 months in advance.
Yes. And it cost us $659 per person base cost.
Yeah. And go ahead.
US dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
On top of the base fares, you also need to pay for the fees. So when we look at fees, we end up paying $118.94 per person.
And those included the taxes and the port fees. So each port you go to charges a fee. So if your cruise has 10 ports, you're going to pay more than a cruise that has 2 ports.
Yeah. The other one as well is just a big shout out to the guys, the crew who work at those ships, because honestly, these guys work like crazy. It's like non-stop every single day. When we were actually debating, should we pay gratuities at the beginning or at the end, we end up paying at the front, and we are so happy that we decided to do this because all the gratuities that we pay that is gonna go towards these folks that
work. I would almost swear there. They work their butts off, guys.
Yeah.
And so we paid $224 US per person in gratuities.
Total, right?
Total.
The total of our cruise, right?
Yeah. And that gets split up between all of the people working on the ship, right? Whereas we had people tell us to have them not take that off at the beginning and just pay people as we went, which is fine because that money then goes directly to that person. Yeah. But from what we see, there are so many people working
countless number of hours
that don't have that front-facing time with a guest to earn those gratuities, right? So we're actually quite happy that we paid those other gratuities up front so that others can benefit from some of that extra money as well.
Yeah,
we did not choose any of the add-on packages.
No. The drink package, I don't even remember. I mean, you were the one who...
It was like $60 per person per day. And one of us couldn't just get that drink package. It had to be both of us. So that was an additional $120 US per day for drinks. We would never drink that much.
No.
In fact, we maybe purchased 3 or 4 glasses of wine this entire cruise. We did bring 2 bottles on with us. Royal Caribbean allows you a bottle of wine per person. So we brought that on board with us. And that's been fine for us so far.
Yeah.
So we didn't choose to add any of that, but things like drinks, internet, coffee packages, all these kinds of things can really add up. The total that we spent for the 14-day cruise here on Oasis of the Seas, Royal Caribbean was $1,001.94 US per person.
Which is around $71.56 per person per day.
Right. And now you think, oh, that's pretty good. But there's more.
Yeah.
You still have to take into consideration how you're going to get to and from these cruises because, yes, that's the cost of the cruise, but it doesn't mean much if you can't get there or get home from the cruise.
Yeah.
So we did have a few extra costs of only $134 US for this particular cruise because we used a lot of hotel points as well as airline points to offset those costs. It was still a cost, so that gets added on there too.
And I just wanted to mention, if you're planning to retire early, start getting your points sooner rather than later, because as you have like your monthly or daily expenses, you can pay everything and you gotta pay everything with your credit card and pay the full statement in full. If you don't do this, it doesn't make any sense. But start collecting these points now and start using them, because by the time that you retire, you are not gonna have the same expenses that you used to have.
Yeah.
So you gotta be mindful of that, right?
And so I think we're going to link down below the cards that we use. We did use a Hyatt card.
Yeah.
I think the actual cost of that hotel room was almost $200 a night. We used 12,000 Hyatt points to stay there. And the same with the hotel in Toronto before we came down. It was around $150 Canadian for the night.
We also use the
Marriott
points.
Yeah. And then the flight
cost.
Aeroplan points. So anyways, off topic, but points do help offset costs. So in total, when we take in those extra little costs, we spent $2,138.54 or 142 US dollars a day for us as a couple to come on this cruise, which is pretty good for 14 days, guys. That's like, you can't even get an all-inclusive 1-week vacation in Mexico for that for two people.
Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal.
Yes.
So we feel like this was a really cost-effective way for us to get from North America to Europe to start our 3 months of travel in Europe. And I'm really enjoying it. I don't know. What about you?
I am more than what I was expecting. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was connected 24 hours per day all the time, and not having internet, it kind of played a role. But as we kind of moved along those days, we kind of get used to it. It doesn't mean that you don't need it once in a while, and we do. And we, I don't know if it was on this video or in another one that we recorded, we used the internet package to basically, once you release the video, you are able to answer the comments right away.
Yeah. So. I mean, this day and age, not having internet it's annoying because you're so used to it. But I think it's been good to kind of show us that we are a little bit too attached to it, and it's time to start kind of dialing it back a little bit.
Which it does help quite a lot. So I'll definitely do it another one.
Yeah, for sure.
And we will.
I think it's a great way to travel. So have any of you guys ever done a repositioning cruise or even a cruise in general? Do you have any other pros and cons that you can share or any tips that you would like to share with everybody else? Just helps everybody's experience be a little bit better.
100%. I guess that's it.
All right, guys.
We're gonna enjoy our day.
In Central Park. It's like a park on a ship. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
We'll show you some of it.
We're gonna go for our walk.
Yep. Get our steps in.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.